Hi, this is Destiny, and the topic I'll be talking about today is how Jesus was like us. And I think we really don't get it, because it really took me a while to understand. Even though Jesus was the Son of God, like, he really struggled in this life, like all of us do. What do I mean by that? Jesus had to come to a knowledge and an understanding of his destiny, meaning he was born into the world as a baby. When we're babies, we don't know anything, right? We have to grow, we have to gain, every single skill to be able to read, to be able to, like, Jesus had to go through all of that. He didn't, just because he was the Son of God didn't mean that he skipped all those phases. You understand what I'm saying? And then it's like, as he grew up, God began to reveal to him, like, who he was. And I don't know what age it is exactly, of course, but then God was able to fully reveal to him who he was, which was the Son of God. And it had to be in an age where he was able to understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, it couldn't be when he was a child. It had to be when he understood the actual implications of what all of that meant. And he had to go through the stage of really being able to trust God, because Jesus, like I said, the same things that, like, King David had to be in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? John the Baptist had to be in the wilderness. Jesus had to be in the wilderness. So Jesus, even though he was the Son of God, he had to go through everything that we had to go through. He had to struggle with his destiny. He had to struggle with accepting what he was called to do, because I'm sure that there were things that he wanted to probably do for himself, for his own life, but then he had to accept his destiny. And as he began to grow older, like, God began to reveal more things to him and stuff like that. And then, like, before he was crucified, obviously he was prophesying that he was going to be betrayed, and he knew he was going to be betrayed, right? And this is, like, right before, like, he was betrayed, like Judas and the authorities had came to him. This is the prayer at Gethsemane. So this is Matthew 26:39. This is Jesus praying to God. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "Oh, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt." So what does that tell you? Jesus was freaking out. He was having a really hard time accepting his destiny, bro. And I didn't even realize that. I was watching this pastor, Apostle James Kawaya, and he talked about that. And that's something that, because it's like, I think we really think in our minds that Jesus, like, he had things easier than us, or because he was the Son of God, he had something just supernatural. And of course he had, like, God's supernatural powers, but he had to deal with the same things that we dealt with, accepting our destiny. Because walking with God, it really means denying yourself. It truly means denying yourself. And Jesus had problems. When he was faced with the reality of what was going to happen, he knew the brutality of it. You know what I'm saying? He knew that this was for a greater purpose, but he still struggled to accept it. He was still freaking out before it happened. And imagine not being abused, not being physically abused your whole life. But he was rejected, you know what I'm saying? He was hated, you know what I'm saying? But then not being physically abused your whole life, and then all of a sudden going through the worst possible abuse you could possibly go through. And for him to conquer the world, he had to go through everything that we all went through. So I think it's really important for us to understand that every single one of us can relate to Jesus, which is the Son of God, which is God incarnate. God wanted to really, like, bring himself on the earth to relate to us, because it's like, before then, it's like we couldn't relate to God. Like, we couldn't, it was like, oh, God, you're almighty and powerful, which is true. But then he wanted us to have a closer relationship with him. So not only did he leave us the Holy Spirit, but he sent Jesus to really, like, go through life in every type of like horrible, just horrible treatment that you could possibly go through, so that we can all relate to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really can all relate to Jesus. Like I said, he had to grow up, come to the knowledge of who he was, come to the knowledge of his destiny, accept it, and begin the journey of trusting God. And even when he knew the end, even though he knew who God was, and he knew that it was for the best, of course he had trouble. He was crying before this happened. He was crying before he was persecuted. He didn't want to do it. He said, if this cup can pass me, he did not want to do it, guys. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of us struggle with accepting our destinies, and I'm telling you, like, that's why you can relate to Jesus, because he struggled as well accepting his destiny. And this is God. This is the Son of God. This is God incarnate. So don't ever think that God doesn't understand what you're going through. Like, he knows exactly what you're going through, because he went through it. Okay? So I pray that this blessed you. And if you want to give your life to Christ, I have a prayer of salvation coming up next. God bless you. Bye.